United Nations Environment Programme, the Mediterranean Action Plan, which has been initiated by the countries on the Mediterranean shore, is at its 45th year. The formation, which has been aiming to preserve the diversity, endurance and productivity of the marine ecosystem, is seeking new ways for a sustainable world and a sustainable development. Hosted by the Republic of Turkey, which has a significant historical and natural heritage, this year's theme in COP22 is Towards a Blue Mediterranean, Clean Heritage, Preserving Biological Diversity and Sustaining Climate Balance. Nature that is exhausted by natural disasters, global warming, unbounded human activities, and the COVID-19 pandemic which took over the world, is now in need of humanity more than ever in history. The Mediterranean is exposed to one of the most critical ecological refraction that has ever been observed on Earth. It hosts many species that face extinction. With its chubby but flexible body, the Mediterranean monk seal is one of the cutest hosts that is older than the Mediterranean inhabitants. The prime species under serious threat are the groupies with their gripping look that has become the favorite of the underwater enthusiasts, the tiny carretas that try to hold on to life with their first breath, the seahorses that captivate with their naive and enchanting glares, the stingrays which flap their wings into freedom, the tritons that carry their homes on their backs, and sharks which are in real danger by being at the brink of extinction. The sea grasses, which are the lungs of Mediterranean, is one of these species as well. We supply 70% of the oxygen that we breathe from the seas. Every square meter of these underwater forests produce more than 15 liters of oxygen. With their superior capacity of carbon absorbing and storing, they are as valuable as the land forest ecosystem. These flowery plants are the barriers against the erosion of the coastal lands and offer shelter, food and breeding ground for many species. Fan mussel is another Mediterranean endemic species as well. These species cleans the sea water and could be called as the natural filters of the seas. The marine species which have been identified in the Mediterranean Sea today is 17,000. 10% of these species are endemic. The symbiotic harmony of the species underwater is breathtaking. The Mediterranean Sea, in which the colors blue and green are intertwined, is facing global climate change and related refractions over its ecosystem. Contracting countries has been working over this significant geography that is under threat in order to restore it under global goals and conserve this basin with all its natural habitat and species. Let us not stand by the destruction of these lovely species and unique ecosystem. Let us fight together to protect the marine and coastal ecosystem. Dealing with ecological problems is only possible with collaborations. Let us show our gratitude towards the Mediterranean Sea, which has always been the cradle of civilizations and the supporter of human development, by guarding it. We will protect the Mediterranean Sea for our mutual home Earth all together. United Nations Environment Programme, Mediterranean Action Plan.
Evet, emeği geçenlere huzurlarınızda biz de bir kez daha teşekkür ediyoruz. Efendim şimdi konuşmalarını yapmak üzere Türkiye Cumhuriyeti Çevre, Şehircilik ve İklim Değişikliği Bakanı Sayın Murat Kurum'u kürsüye davet ediyorum. Sayın Bakanım buyursunlar efendim.
Sayın Başkan, değerli bakanlar, bakan yardımcılarımız, büyükelçilerimiz, kıymetli misafirlerimiz, sizleri sevgi ve saygıyla selamlıyorum. Ev sahibi ülke olarak 22. Barcelona Sözleşmesi taraf ülkeler toplantısı kapsamında sizleri ülkemizde Antalya'da ağırlamaktan duyduğum memnuniyeti ifade ediyor ve bu toplantı vesilesiyle her birinize tekrar teşekkür ediyor. Ülkemize, Antalya'mıza hoş geldiniz diyorum. Kıymetli misafirler, bakanlar oturumunu gerçekleştireceğimiz bugün aynı zamanda COP22 toplantılarında 3. günü. 2 gün önce başlayan toplantılarımızda Mavi Akdeniz'in geleceği adına birçok tematik kararı görüştük. Hep birlikte değerlendirmiş olduk. Mevkidaşlarımızla birlikte bu kararlar hususunda birebir görüşmeler gerçekleştirildi. Bugünkü toplantımızdan sonra da nihai kararlarımızı verecek ve Antalya Bakanlar Deklarasyonu'nu oylamaya sunmuş olacağız. Burada şunu da vurgulamak isterim. Bütün çalışmalarımızın önemli bir paydaşı olan gençlerimiz İstanbul'da bir araya gelerek Akdeniz'in geleceği için hazırlıkladığı gençlik bildirgesiyle deklarasyonumuza katkıda bulundular. Ben 21 Akdeniz ülkesinin her bir gencine huzurlarınızda teşekkür ediyor ve hepsini burada hep birlikte alkışlamaya davet ediyorum. Değerli bakanlar, kıymetli misafirler, Avrupa, Afrika ve Asya kıtalarıyla çevrili Akdeniz, yüzyıllar boyunca insanlık tarihinin hep buluşma noktası olmuş, dünya tarihine yön veren önemli medeniyetlere beşiklik etmiştir. 21 ülke ve 520 milyon nüfusa ev sahipliği yapan Akdeniz, 11.700'ü endemik olmak üzere 25.000 bitki türüne, 17.000'den fazla da deniz türüne yuva olmaya devam ediyor. Bugün de yüzyıllardır böylesi zenginliği yüreğinde saklayan Akdeniz'imizi iklim değişikliği ve çevre kirliliğine karşı korumak için bir aradayız. Akdeniz ülkelerinin siz değerli bakanlarıyla, katılımcılarıyla mavi bir Akdeniz'e doğru çöpsüz miras bırakmak, biyolojik çeşitliliği korumak, iklim dengesini sürdürmek başlığı altında toplantımızı gerçekleştireceğiz. Böyle bir temayla COP22'yi gerçekleştirmemizin esas sebebi ise Akdeniz Havzası'nın iklim değişikliği, kuraklık, kirlilik, biyoçeşitlilik kaybı ve yabancı türlerin baskısı altında olmasıdır. Bu noktada Akdeniz'de yaşanan bu sorunları çözmek için belirleyeceğimiz yol haritasının çok önemli olduğunu özellikle vurgulamak isterim. Bu anlamda alacağımız her karar, ortaya koyacağımız her fikir Akdeniz'imizin ve ortak evimiz dünyamız için bir milat, bir dönüm noktası olacaktır. Kıymetli misafirler, bugün tüm devletler 4 temel meseleyle kitlesel göçler, terör, pandemi, çevre ve iklim değişikliği sorunlarına çözüm bulma adına kısa, orta ve uzun vadeli stratejiler geliştirmekte ve hayata geçirmektedir. Akdeniz Havzası iklim değişikliği açısından en kırılgan bölgelerden bir tanesidir. Ülkelerimiz iklim değişikliği nedeniyle sıklığı ve şiddeti giderek artan seller, orman yangınları ve kuraklık gibi büyük felaketler yaşıyor. İklim değişikliği nedeniyle yaşanan bu olumsuzluklar ekonomik açıdan da büyük kayıplara sebep oluyor. Baktığınızda afet öncesi 1 liraya yapabileceğiniz yatırımı afet sonrası 7 ila 10 lira arasında yapmak zorunda kalıyorsunuz. Akdeniz değerlendirme raporuna göre Akdeniz'de iklim değişikliğine bağlı olarak ortalama deniz seviyesi son 20 yılda 6 santimetre yükseldi. Deniz seviyesindeki bu yükselmenin kıyılara ve kültürel alanlara, kültürel mirasımıza zarar vereceği öngörülüyor. Deniz suyu sıcaklığındaki artış, deniz ekosistemlerini maalesef olumsuz etkiliyor. Nitekim ülke olarak sadece 2021 yılında iklim değişikliği nedeniyle 3 afet olayı yaşadık. Bunlardan ilki şu anda bulunduğumuz Antalya ve Muğla başta olmak üzere ülkelerimizin farklı noktalarında, bölgelerinde çıkan orman yangınlarıdır. Bu yangınlarda 150 bin hektarlık ormanlığım varlığımız, yine binlerce canlı türümüz, vatandaşlarımızın canlarını yitirdik, kaybettik. Diğer ikisi ise özellikle ülkemizin kuzey illerinde meydana gelen sel felaketleri ve Marmara Denizi'ni kapsayan müsilaj sorunudur. Bu tablo Akdeniz özelinde iklim değişikliğiyle mücadelede önlemlerin geliştirilmesinin ne kadar önemli olduğunu ve aciliyetini net bir şekilde bize göstermektedir. Sadece Türkiye'nin değil, tüm ülkelerin maruz kaldığı bu krizlerin sorumlusu aslında bellidir. Son 200 yılda özellikle gelişmiş ülkelerin havayı, suyu, toprağı hoyratça kullanarak büyümeleri ve tüm dünyada yaşanan aşırı tüketim nedeniyle bu krizlerle karşı karşıyayız. Şunu söylemek zorundayım ki küresel adaletin yeniden tesis edilmesi için herkesin ama en başta dünyamız içine düştüğü bu iklim krizine neden olanların elini taşın altına ivedilikle koyması şarttır. 21 Akdeniz ülkesi olarak iklim değişikliğiyle mücadelede koyacağımız ortak irade dünyanın iklim kriziyle mücadelesine de çok güçlü bir katkı sunacaktır. Burada alacağımız her karar, birlikte yürüteceğimiz her çalışma sadece 21 ülkenin değil, 192 ülkede yaşanan sorunlara birer reçete olacaktır. Bu noktada Türkiye'de bir bölgesel aktivite merkezinin kurulmasının özellikle Akdeniz çanağının geleceği için olumlu katkılar sunacağına inanıyoruz. Biz buna ülke olarak talibiz. Bölgesel aktivite merkezinin kurulması için tüm dostlarımızın desteğini ve katkılarını bekliyoruz. Kıymetli misafirler, biz Türkiye olarak yaşadığımız tüm bu felaketlerin önüne geçmek adına tarihi sorumluluğumuz olmamasına rağmen iklim değişikliğiyle mücadeledeki görevlerimizi kararlılıkla yerine getiriyoruz. Bu anlamda Cumhurbaşkanımız Sayın Recep Tayyip Erdoğan'ın Birleşmiş Milletler Genel Kurulu'nda yaptığı açıklamanın hemen ardından meclisimizin onayıyla Paris Anlaşması'na taraf olduk. Ve bu çerçevede 2053 net sıfır emisyon ve yeşil kalkınma devrimi hedeflerimiz doğrultusunda iklim değişikliğinin olumsuz etkileriyle mücadelemizde ve uyum sağlama çalışmalarımızda çok daha güçlü adımlar atıyoruz. Ülke olarak çevrenin korunması adına uzun vadede bir planlama yaklaşımıyla çözümlerimizi tüm dünyayla paylaştık. Ülkemizin en büyük çevre hareketini aldığı uluslararası ödüllerle sınırları aşan sıfır atık projemizi Cumhurbaşkanımızın eşi saygıdeğer Emine Erdoğan hanımefendinin himayelerinde 2017 yılında başlattık. İklim değişikliğiyle mücadelemizin önemli bir ayağı olan bu projeyle bir taraftan doğal alanlarımızı korurken diğer taraftan da ülke ekonomisine katkılar sağlıyoruz. Sıfır Atık Mavi Hareketi'yle deniz kirliliğiyle mücadele ediyoruz. Bu kapsamda yürüttüğümüz çalışmalarla 485'i Akdeniz'de olan mavi bayraklı plaj sayımızı 519'a çıkardık. İspanya ve Yunanistan'la birlikte en çok mavi bayraklı plaja sahip olan ülkelerden biriyiz. Ekolojik koridorlarımızla, millet bahçelerimizle, korunan alanlarımızla ve orman varlıklarımızla yutak alanlarımızı her gün arttırmaya gayret gösteriyoruz. Bugün baktığınızda 19 özel çevre koruma bölgemizden 12'si dünyanın en güzel koylarının yer aldığı Ege ve Akdeniz bölgelerinde yer alıyor. Tüm bu alanlarda biyolojik çeşitliliğin korunmasına yönelik bilimsel çalışmalarımızı da aralıksız sürdürüyoruz. Değerli mevkidaşlarım, büyük Türk mimarı Turgut Cansever, insanın asıl vazifesi dünyayı güzelleştirmektir der. Biz Türkiye olarak Akdeniz'i güzelleştirmemiz için tüm taraf ülkelerin daha etkin, daha hızlı, daha aksiyoner bir anlayışla hareket etmesi gerektiğine inanıyoruz. Bu kapsamda UNEP-MAB'ın olağanüstü koordinasyonuyla bugüne kadar Covid-19 şartlarında dahi çalışmalarımızı hep birlikte başarıyla sürdürdük. Barcelona Sözleşmesi ile alakalı gelişmeleri yakından takip ederek gerekli noktalarda katkılarımızı sunduk. Akdeniz'deki flora, fauna ve habitatları, kıyı ve deniz ekosistemlerini korumak ve geliştirmek için daha fazla bilimsel çalışmalar yürütmeli, çevreye duyarlı bir yönetim sağlamalıyız. Bu noktada Akdeniz'deki korunan alanların sayısını ve niteliğini arttırma hedefiyle çalışmalarımızı genişleteceğiz. UNEP-MAP Sekreteryası'nın yürütücü organları arasında etkin koordinasyonun artacağı ve üye ülkelerin işbirliğiyle faydalı sonuçlar alacağımızı da ümit ediyorum. Özellikle Covid-19 sonrası değişen dünyada artan tek kullanımlık ürün tüketiminden kaynaklı deniz çöpü artışıyla mücadele büyük önem arz ediyor. Bu noktada üretim ve imha zincirinin tümünü kontrol altında tutmamız gerekiyor. Kısacası hayatın her alanını ilgilendiren tam teşekküllü bir mücadele içinde hep birlikte olmalıyız. Çünkü ne yazık ki deniz çöpleri ve özellikle tek kullanımlık plastikler denizlerimizin, canlılarımızın geleceğini maalesef tehdit ediyor. Böylesi önemli bir hususta Birleşmiş Milletler Çevre Programı altında tıpkı Barcelona Sözleşmesi olduğu gibi bir sözleşmenin yapılması kaçınılmaz bir gerçek olarak önümüzde durmaktadır. Türkiye olarak tüm dünyanın taraf olacağı bu sözleşmenin hayata geçirilmesini destekleyeceğimizi, hatta taraf olan ülkelerden biri olarak bu noktada özellikle taşın altına elimizi koyacağımızı özellikle belirtmek isterim. Türkiye olarak sözleşmenin sekreteryasına da İstanbul'da ev sahipliği yapmaya hazırız ve bu çerçevede üstümüze düşen tüm sorumluluklarla birlikte Akdeniz'imiz için her türlü fedakarlığı yapacağımızı tekrar ifade etmek istiyorum. Kıymetli misafirler, daha önce 2013 yılında 18 taraf ülkeler toplantısı kapsamında yine sizleri dünya başkentimiz İstanbul'umuzda ağırlamıştık ve 2013'teki büro başkanlığımızda Barcelona Sözleşmesi ile Karadeniz'i korumak amaçlı imzaladığımız Bükreş Sözleşmeleri arasında bölgesel işbirliğinin güçlendirilmesi amacıyla bir mutabakat zaptı imzalanmıştı. Bu mutabakat zaptıyla Çanakkale ve İstanbul boğazlarıyla birbirine bağlanan iki geniş coğrafyada bilgi ve deneyim paylaşımı oldu. Yine bu zabıtla deniz çöpleri için bölgesel eylem planlarının hazırlandığı ve uygulamaya koyulduğu, her iki denizin tek ortak komşusu olan Türkiye olarak büyük bir memnuniyetle bu çalışmayı yapmış olduğumuzu ifade etmek istiyorum. Aslında bu kapsamda kabul edilen İstanbul Deklarasyonu'yla 2020 yılına kadar Akdeniz'in %10'unun koruma alanı ilan edilmesi, kirliliğinin önlenmesi, sürdürülebilir tüketim ve üretim eylem planının kabul edilmesine dair önemli kararlara imza atmıştık. Şimdi COP22 kapsamında ülkemiz 2 yıllığına Barcelona Sözleşmesi'nin sekreteriyasının büro başkanlığı görevini İtalya'dan devraldı. Önümüzdeki 2 yıllık süreçte hepimizin ortak değeri olan Akdeniz için çalışmalarımızı kararlı bir şekilde yürüteceğiz. Ben bu yeni dönemin ve 22. taraf ülkeler toplantımızın ülkelerimiz, Akdeniz'imiz ve tüm insanlık için hayırlı olmasını diliyorum. Değerli dostlar, bugünkü programımız kapsamında saygıdeğer Emine Erdoğan hanımefendi COP22 ülkelerinin kadın liderleriyle bir arada olacak ve ardından İstanbul Çevre Dostu Şehirler Ödülü'nün yine törenine katılacaklar. Ben tüm katılımcılara, bakanlarımıza, ülke temsilcilerimize, mevkidaşlarıma, genç arkadaşlarıma medeniyetlerin annesi Akdeniz için, Mavi Akdeniz için sundukları katkı için şükranlarımı sunuyor. Sizlere büyük şair Ece Ayhan gibi açın pencereleri, açın, Akdeniz'de sabah oluyor. Uzatın ellerinizi, Akdeniz güzelleşiyor diyorum ve bu duygularla sizleri tekrar saygı ve hürmetle selamlıyorum.
Evet, Türkiye Cumhuriyeti Çevre, Şehircilik ve İklim Değişikliği Bakanı Sayın Murat Kurum'a biz de konuşmaları, hitapları için teşekkür ediyoruz. Kıymetli hanımefendiler, kıymetli beyefendiler, şimdi konuşmalarını yapmak üzere Birleşmiş Milletler Genel Sekreter Yardımcısı Sayın Joyce Msuya'yı kürsüye davet ediyorum. Miss Msuya, floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable ministers, deputy ministers, excellencies, distinguished delegates, ambassadors, youth representatives, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the United Nations Environment Programme, I would like to begin my remarks by expressing deep thanks to the government of Turkey for hosting this seminal conference. We are deeply grateful for the presence of His Excellency Minister Mr. Murat Kurum and his leadership and support to UNEP MAP and to all the parties. Thank you for all the tireless work and leadership that has gone into making this conference happen during the pandemic. And for the immense importance that Turkey, as we have just heard from Honorable Minister, places on the environmental stewardship of the rich and illustrious region. I am also here with special personal regards from the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Madam Amina Mohamed, who was invited by the government of Turkey to be here, and unfortunately she could not make it. She sends her warm regards to all the delegates. Never before has the Mediterranean needed its human stewards as much as it does today. The region is on a collision course with nature. Human activity is pushing ecosystems that sustain life to the brink of collapse. Overfishing, untreated sewage, heavy shipping, and an intensive tourism industry. The 730 tons of plastic waste that leaches into the sea every day. These are all rapidly eroding human health and well-being in the region. Climate change is also warming the Mediterranean 20% faster than the global average. This has alarming implications for the region. Rainfall is expected to decrease by 30% in some parts, just as the demand for water is set to triple over the next 30 years. Wildlife and heat waves are already intensifying. They will get worse and worse. The path we are on is clearly not sustainable. The region is also being hit hard by biodiversity crisis. The Mediterranean has already lost almost half of its top marine predators. Ocean acidification threatens the fabric of marine ecosystems, in particularly coral reefs. Dozens of species are on the brink of extinction, and the loss of vital marine habitats poses a major threat to a sea that has the highest rate of endemism in the world, threatening species that are found nowhere else on Earth. These three interconnected crises of pollution, climate change, and biodiversity loss are rapidly eroding the rich social fabric of the Mediterranean region, damaging the region's economies and the well-being of its people. This is the alarming course we are on. Fortunately, we know exactly how to change this trajectory. 45 years of hard work has meant that we hold in our hands a roadmap for change. The 7 protocols set down in the Barcelona Convention tackle a wide spectrum of the region's environmental threats. If implemented, these protocols would fulfill the ambitious vision that lies at the heart of the Convention of a healthy, clean, climate-resilient, and biologically diverse Mediterranean. What is lacking is implementation, and that's why we are here. We are here to close this gap, to bring the implementation of the Barcelona Convention in line with its ambition. It is time to uphold the protocols by ensuring that they are enforced and complied with at the national level. It is time to translate these worthy goals into laws, regulations, and concrete measures. It is time to act. To do this, countries will need to amend national legislation that paves the way for legal action. They will need to strengthen the cooperation between the judiciary and administrative bodies. And they will need to find ways to create and then enforce protected areas so that the goal of protecting 30% of marine and coastal areas by 2030 can be fulfilled. This is the crucial work that lies ahead of us, the power to set a new course for the region, to make peace with nature, lies with all of you here today. It is my greatest hope that we can harness this power to transform the future of this magnificent region in a way that expands human prosperity for generations to come. Thank you very much.
Evet, biz de Sayın Misuya'ya konuşmaları için teşekkür ediyoruz. Kıymetli hanımefendiler, beyefendiler, tabii ki bu çağda, bugün de, günümüzde, yarın da gençler çok önemli. Gençlerin hissiyatına ulaşmak, gençlerin fikrine önem vermek. İşte bu organizasyonda da gençliğin bir mesajı var. Şimdi gençlik deklarasyonunu sunmak üzere 3 değerli arkadaşımı ben sahneye davet edeceğim. Onları takdim etmek istiyorum size. Türkiye'den Faik Yetkin, Mısır'dan Asmat Tarek ve İspanya'dan Ayna Hügel alkışlarınızla sahnede. Genç arkadaşlarımı sahneye bekliyorum. Buyurun.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished Minister of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change, Mr. Murat Kurum, honorable members of the United Nations Secretariat, esteemed representatives of the contracting parties, and cherished guests. I welcome you all to the ministerial session of the 22nd meeting of the Conference of the Contracting Parties to the Barcelona Convention and its protocols. My name is Faik Yetkin, and I am a Turkish law student at Ankara University and now a climate ambassador. At the pre-COP22 youth event in Istanbul, I was elected along with my friends, Ayna Pujol from Spain and Esma Tarık from Egypt, to represent the youth of the 22 contracting parties. We stand before you today to deliver the declaration we've adopted and to voice the will of Mediterranean youth. Before we proceed with our findings, I'd like to briefly touch upon our efforts at the pre-conference youth event organized by the Turkish Ministry of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change. For 3 days, we convened with youth delegates representing the parties to the convention to address our concerns and deliberate for solutions against real problems that threaten human well-being for current and future generations, including human-induced climate change, sea pollution, marine litter, and the loss of biodiversity. We found that the Mediterranean Action Plan has served as a shining example for regional mechanisms administered by the United Nations Environmental Program and has made considerable strides towards keeping our seas clean and healthy. Our recommendation to the contracting parties is to meet the growing demand for funding and manpower in research and development aiding the implementation of the Barcelona Convention, particularly in underfunded yet relevant fields such as law, social studies, climate studies, and niche technologies, so that the Mediterranean can continue to lead the discussion on marine governance. Second, to realize our goals, we must build a community around them. I'm lucky to have met Esma and Ayna, and many others who share my passion for our common Mediterranean heritage. To give many others a similar chance, we invite the parties to institute a youth exchange program between northern and southern Mediterranean states, not unlike the EU Erasmus program, to facilitate the exchange of ideas and interconnection among Mediterranean youth. Finally, we stress the importance of meaningful youth engagement and involvement in the multilateral decision-making process. The inclusion of youth in the decision-making should be the norm, not the exception. We are the stakeholders of the future, and we must have a say in it. For this reason, we call the contracting parties to once again lead the world by example and establish a permanent council of Mediterranean youth to meet biannually so that the youth can be involved and not just in name. I thank you and invite my friend Ayna to take the floor.
Hola, I'm Ayna Pujol from Barcelona, where the convention was signed. I dedicated myself to reducing fashion pollution in our seas by funding Hugel Barcelona, a fashion house for the future. My company uses recycled fabric and natural dyes to contribute to circular economy, fight pollution, and support the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I was inspired to take action by the Switchers, an initiative of the UN Environment Map Regional Activity Center, which facilitates ecological transition by connecting green entrepreneurs through Mediterranean countries. The Switchers provide support to over 400 young Mediterranean entrepreneurs like myself, promoting sustainable consumption and production. Yet, it does not receive institutional support on the level it needs to make an impact. In the U11, we decide it should not fall only on NGOs and private individuals, but that contracting parties should support collective efforts to implement the Barcelona Convention where they can. Through green public procurement and tax reforms, contracting parties should incentivize the adoption of measures against climate change by private actors. Finally, and most importantly, the Switchers are one of many organizations which await institutional support to make a change on a bigger scale. The youth of the Mediterranean have the common will to make a change, but lack of resources. My humble request is to the contracting parties is that they provide financial, administrative, and logistical support to the youth so that we can be the change that we need. Before I conclude my speech, I would like to thank the Republic of Turkey for organizing the pre-COP youth event and hope that it becomes a tradition for the contracting parties. I now call Asma on the stage.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Asma Tariq from Egypt, and I am a human rights lawyer. But my true passion and real work is as an educator and social activist, working with people to raise awareness for world problems. Before I attended the pre-COP in Istanbul, I was in Cairo, training Egyptian youth to educate their peers on how to protect the Mediterranean and how we can connect with our environment. But I was so that the youth have empowering and enabling and capable to make a change and willing, but they don't have the opportunities to make change among local and marginalized communities. So, to combat climate change on all levels, I want to make the circular and blue economy accessible for all. I have 3 key points I would like to share with you. On behalf of the Mediterranean youth that I feel contribute to this goal, as it was pointed out earlier, protecting the environment is important, but don't forget, you are doing it for the people who live there. While taking action on all levels, local communities should be the focus as they are the end goal. Our first problem was, how can we enable people and the local communities who don't know about this concept to spread the awareness and engage the people they live with and they have to work with. I believe education is the best tool to equip them for the goal of the Barcelona Convention. They should both be aware and connected so that they have a reason to be engaged. Our second problem was, how should we make green alternatives cheap and accessible? We, the youth, found that we should adapt them where we can through green public procurement and green tax system. An ecosystem-based approach should guide policy on the local, national, and international level. Finally, our main problem was, and still is, how can we involve Mediterranean youth further to drive change? In the Youth Declaration, we proposed an exchange program, a permanent international institution to let the youth make decisions, additional funding for related research, and most importantly, financial, administrative, and logistical support for youth initiatives to implement the goal of the Barcelona Convention. My friends and I ask from all of you especially the decision makers present, to involve the willing youth in consideration and policies, as it will save time, efforts, resources, and our future. On behalf of the youth of the 22 contracting parties, I would like to thank all of you, your interest and attention to that remarks, my friend and I, which present the will of the Mediterranean youth. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We thank to all of you for your message. Stay on the stage for gift ceremony. Thank you. Evet, çok teşekkür ediyoruz değerli arkadaşlarımıza bu güzel mesajları için. Onları bir süre daha sahnede misafir edeceğiz. Bir hediye takdimi olacak. Ben arkadaşlarıma yönlendirmek istiyorum. Please. Sahnenin ortasında. Miss Musuya, would you like to give present to young friends behalf of United Nations? Evet, Birleşmiş Milletler Genel Sekreter Yardımcısı Sayın Joyce Musuya, genç arkadaşlarımıza, o deklarasyon ilanında bulan genç arkadaşlarımıza hediyelerini takdim edecekler. Buyursunlar lütfen. Evet, alkışlarınız bu güzel sahne için. Evet, ben o arkadaşları bir kez daha size anons etmek istiyorum. Türkiye'den Faik Yetkin, Mısır'dan Asma Tarek ve İspanya'dan Ayna Hügel'di. Gençlik deklarasyonunu okuyan arkadaşlar. Evet, çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Sağ olun. Arkadaşlarımızı da yerlerine davet ediyorum. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz bu mesajlarınız için. Evet, Bakanlar Oturumu devam ediyor. Akdeniz Eylem Planı 22. Taraflar Konferansı'nda Bakanlar Oturumu. Efendim şimdi bir sonraki bölüme geçeceğiz. UNEP MEP Koordinatörü Sayın Tatyana Hema, COP21'den bugüne kadar yapılan çalışmaları anlatacak. Kendilerini kürsüye davet ediyorum. Buyurun Sayın Hema.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure and a huge responsibility for me as UNEP-MAP coordinator to speak after we heard the very nice speeches and proposals from the youth. And I'm going to present you the main achievement and some highlights on what we have done together with the contracting parties for the implementation of the program of work that has been adopted by the last meeting of the contracting parties in Naples. Let me start by one of the most important priorities that we do have as UNEP-MAP in enhancing the environmental governance and the governance of the UNEP-MAP Barcelona Convention system, which is driven by the ratification of the Barcelona Convention and its protocols. Next slide, please. As you are all aware, the foundation of the UNEP-MAP system is Barcelona Convention and its protocols. There are 7 protocols. Is one of the most advanced regulatory framework is our regional treaty that all Mediterranean contracting parties are very much committed to implement and to comply with its obligation. Let me give you a very brief panorama on the status of ratification, because it's a very important issue of credibility of our own system, and of course it's also a prerequisite for better and enhanced implementation, and in particular to make sure that the program of work that we do does support really the needs of the contracting parties to enhance implementation. We have a universal ratification of the Barcelona Convention as amended in 1995. by all contracting parties, which is an important achievement, but we do still miss some ratification of the protocols, and we do have only one protocol which amendments are not yet in force, and I would like to encourage the contracting parties, based on a number of calls that have been taken by the meetings of the contracting parties, to draw the attention and to make an effort to enhance and increase the number of ratification by the contracting parties on a number of protocol, and to make a special effort for the amendment to the dumping protocol to enter into force. Next slide, please. Another important element of our credibility is the way that we do and report on the implementation of the Barcelona Convention. We have a lot of success stories. There is an effort by the contracting parties to improve reporting, but still there is a gap. And we are doing our best as a Secretariat, together with the respective contracting parties, to make an effort to report on measures, and it's not only for the purpose of complying with the reporting requirement, but a good reporting means that we can target and we can create activities that really would support contracting parties in enhancing the implementation of the Barcelona Convention and its protocols. Let us go to another very important program that we have, which is the reach out and the partnership with our contracting parties. Next slide, please. As you are aware, the MAP Barcelona Convention, under the direction and leadership of the contracting parties, has a very active policy in partnership. We heard today very nicely, I would like to thank His Excellency Minister Kurum for referring in particular to the collaboration that we have with the Black Sea Commission and the work that we have done together in helping this convention, in working more on marine litter, using to the extent possible, based on their specificities on the marine litter and the preparation of the regional plan. But we do work with many partners in the region. This slide is just an example to show what we have done in particular during this biennium, and you have, as you have heard and approved the decision on the governance, we are working on expanding collaboration now even with the parliamentarian organization, because we do believe that they can play an advocacy role in promoting the implementation of the Barcelona Convention, its protocol, and we are very much committed, as we said, based on the decision of the contracting parties, to expand the reach out, to invite all the partners to contribute to the implementation of the MAP program of work and Barcelona Convention, because we do believe that the Barcelona Convention, its protocol, is a regulatory framework, is a public regional good, and all the partners, they would have the opportunity to contribute to its implementation. Next slide, please. We also have worked a lot during this biennium in trying to mobilize and to enhance or to put in motion a number of projects that we have been capable to mobilize. And I would like to say that in particular during the biennium, we tried to implement a MED program funded by Jeff. It's a very important program for the MAP Barcelona Convention. It also brings a lot of resources to the region and supports many national activities that would allow the contracting parties to better implement not only a number of activities of the project, but it will allow them to comply and to better implement the provision under the Convention and its protocol. We are also very grateful to have a number of projects funded from the European Union in the framework of the Strategic Partnership UNEP, which are focusing mainly on the implementation of the ecosystem approach, on supporting a number of contracting parties on how to better monitor marine and coastal environment, to deliver quality assured data that would allow us to prepare solid-based evidence report that would allow you to take the right decision in view of measures required for achieving good environmental status and improving the quality of marine and coastal environment. And another very good news that we have is that the Mediterranean Trust Fund that you created 46 years ago is stable. The contracting parties continue to pay on a regular way their contribution to the trust fund, and as you said in the slides, we are reaching a very good status in spite of a very difficult period that we are going through, in particular during this biennium due to the COVID pandemic. The next slide, please. The other one. The assessment monitoring is one of the major mandates that you have given to the Secretariat, providing a robust basis for informed decision making, a very major mandate that the entire MAP system, under the leadership of the Secretariat, is undertaking many activities and has undertaken many activities during the biennium. Let me focus on some of them. One of the most important is the MEDEC report that you based on the discussion that was held before yesterday, agreed to endorse the summary for the policymaker. And I have the opportunity on your behalf to thank this network of scientists on climate change for the Mediterranean that agreed to work together with support of UNEP-MAP and also UFM to deliver this report and to commit to continue supporting decision-making on climate change issues. We also had some quite good work in publishing the report on state of the environment and development that was adopted by the previous contracting parties meeting. There are a number of thematic reports that we have delivered. I'm not going to read them one by one, but just to say that this mandate is very important. We are taking it very seriously, and one of the reports, a major one that would like to deliver, as is expected by all contracting parties in 2023, is the Status Quality Report, 2023 Status Quality Report, and I'm bringing this to your attention because for the first time we are very much ambitious, based on your expectation, to prepare a report that will be truly based on quality assured data. It's a very ambitious mandate. It requires that monitoring of marine and coastal environment takes place in real time. It requires that good quality of data is delivered. As we said, we are supporting contracting parties, providing technical assistance and financial support, but it is at the very end a responsibility of the contracting parties to undertake this work, definitely with the support of the Secretariat, that would allow us to prepare a report that would tell you how it is the status of the Mediterranean, good, not good, progressing, and to take the necessary measures in order to achieve this ultimate objective that we all have, to achieve good environmental status and to maintain it by in line with the commitment under the Barcelona Convention. There is also another work done. You know that we have a Mediterranean strategy for sustainable development. We have a list of indicators that have been agreed, and there is quite a lot of work from the Secretariat to populate these indicators with data in order also to see what are the trends in terms of development in line with the priority of the MSSD that would also support you in reporting with regard to the SDGs for those indicators that are quite similar or almost the same with the respective SDG indicators. The next slide, please. The next slide. Now, you know also that we do have a very important mandate, is the most traditional one that was born together with MAP in '75 on to combat and to prevent marine pollution. We did a lot of work. The COP22 already is a witness because they did approve a number of important decisions with regard to the pollution control and prevention. Let me start that we did agree to upgrade after 20 or 30 years the annexes to a number of annexes to the protocols that address pollution, and there are 3: the dumping, the LBS, and the hazard and the offshore protocol. So it's an important work, and the intention is how to bring them in line with the most recent global and regional development. We also, you agreed to approve legally binding measures in the framework of Article 15 of the LBS Protocol of the Barcelona Convention that really enrich the regulatory framework of the Barcelona Convention system in addressing a number of important sectors like wastewater treatment plan, sludge management, and in particular on marine litter, that there are additional commitments that you have undertook to combat marine pollution and plastic pollution and to make sure that all measures are taken to minimize any impact from marine litter in the Mediterranean. There are a number of strategies that have been approved by this COP, which are the one that is very important to address the pollution from sea. And there is also another document on the ballast water, another strategy that was updated in line with the international and of course to address the emerging issues of the Mediterranean. So there is quite a lot of work on this important pillar of the work of UNEP-MAP, and we are very proud that you managed to approve and to take additional commitment in order to implement ambitious regional measures that would contribute to the prevention and reduction of marine pollution in the region. There are a number of technical guidelines that were also approved by this COP, and it requires a lot of time, and I would like to say that all this work is in a collective effort because all these documents were not prepared by the Secretariat, they were prepared in a very close collaboration under the leadership of the contracting parties. The next slide, please. We also do have an important mandate on biodiversity. We heard our Deputy Executive Director saying and referring to a number of findings that we have been identifying and are evident today of the issue that we have with the biodiversity loss, but we also are all witnesses of the work and the commitment that all contracting parties are undertaking in order to make sure that support is provided and work is done to protect and conserve marine biodiversity. And we are witnesses that this COP reviewed, and we have a new strategy to protect and conserve marine and coastal biodiversity. And this important strategy that has been approved by this COP will open new perspectives for the Mediterranean to take the necessary measures to align the work that we are doing in the Mediterranean with the global biodiversity agenda, but it also allows not only the contracting parties in premise, but also the partners to contribute to the implementation of the very important strategic document in order that through a collective effort we can stop the biodiversity degradation and try to enhance, or as we say now, to live in harmony with the nature. There is also another strategic, very important document that has been prepared and agreed by the COP, which is the new strategy on marine protected areas and in other effective area-based conservation measures, a very important commitment that you are making, and we all believe that you have the support of the Secretariat in order to advance on its implementation. There are also a number of action plans for endangered species that have been updated or elaborated, and there is also a very interesting forum that has been undertaken under the leadership of SPARAC together with a number of partners on marine protected areas. Then there is a commitment from the community of marine protected areas to work very closely together with you, contracting parties and other partners in order to promote and to push an ambitious agenda on marine protected areas. And of course there is a lot of support provided at technical level, financial support as well to the contracting parties in promoting and in enhancing their capacities with regard to the protection of marine and coastal biodiversity. The next slide, please. As you are aware, the Barcelona Convention expanded the geographical scope in 1995 to also address the coastal area, the land part, which created a great opportunity for looking at interaction between sea and land in a very integrative way. And we have a number of activities, and we have a theme in the current strategy that allows the contracting parties to use these integrative approaches, including the ecosystem approach one, in order to make sure that measures are taken in a holistic way for the protection of marine and coastal environment. And we have undertaken a number of activities under a number of projects, mainly through the MET program and through the other projects related to the IMAP implementation to support the contracting parties in this direction. And in addition, we are also supporting quite a lot, and this is one of the traditional pillars of the work of UNEP-MAP and in particular of PAPRAC on how to streamline climate change in the national plan for coastal management and the coastal local plan. The next slide, please. Sustainable consumption production in another priority program that we have in the strategy, in the current strategy, and there is a lot of work done in supporting the implementation of production and consumption partners. And I would say that the work that we are doing in the Mediterranean is very much aligned with work that has been done at UNEP level. We do have the Regional Activity Center in Barcelona that is focusing their work in this direction, and we heard also the youth representative being one of the switches, and I'll come a little bit later on that. But the intention of the Secretariat is to make sure that we do work a lot in preventing, because we all know that the solution will come by promoting sustainable consumption and production, and this will resolve upstream many of the environmental problems that we should stop thinking resolving the problem after they are generated, but we need to prevent them. And this is why that this is a new program, and this new work that we are doing will be very efficient in this direction. The next slide, please. And these are a way to show what exactly we are doing. And as you see, the intention is to support green entrepreneur The intention is to see, because there are youth representatives, there are a lot of women that are among the entrepreneurs, and it's quite a good work because this is something that we do in order to promote the protection of marine and coastal environment, but also keeping in heart the need for green growth and development, and in particular support to the local community. Next slide, please. Now, the other theme is climate change. We definitely, is one of the mandates that was given to UNEP MAP with a focus mostly on the adaptation. But one of the most important achievements with regard to climate change is, as I said, the report that MEDEC delivered. There is also some work that we have done on how to promote climate change and nature-based solution, and a number of guidelines, technical guidelines that have been developed. But in the new midterm strategy that I'm going to mention a little bit later, we really go for a much more ambitious program of work and activities with regard to the climate change. And then the next slide, please. Communication outreach, as I did have the opportunity when I reported on the implementation of the program of work to the MAP focal point in September, we are improving a lot, and we are giving a lot of importance to visibility and advocacy thanks to the effort that are undertaken by Inforac, our center in Italy, and also the coordinating unit, the Secretariat in Athens. And the intention is to try to mobilize more visibility, more impact of UNEP MAP Barcelona Convention at global fora, at regional fora, but above all at the national level, because it's very important for us that the public at the national level is fully aware of the work that you are doing, or the work that we are doing. This will enhance awareness and will make more effective the implementation of the Barcelona Convention and protocols at national level. Now, I'm not going to go through all. We are innovative. We are using new tools of communication. There is also a lesson learned that we had from the COVID period on how to work in a more efficient way. But the most important is that we are fully aware that it's an important component and is there in order to further effort for the implementation of MAP objectives and the Barcelona Convention and its protocols. And let me conclude, next slide please, with some elements on the financial implementation, because it's quite important for you to know how the program of work and budget that has been approved is implemented. You have some figures there. Let me see, so it is 90% the status of implementation for the expected for the biennium 2020-2021 that we all know was very difficult with the COVID pandemic, with many of meetings organized online, but overall we believe that we are in good stand and we could report a good amount of funds effectively implemented for the program of work. Next slide, please. Yeah, what I would like to say is that this COP is the witnesses of the work that has been undertaken during the current biennium. You know the number of the thematic decision that you approved, a very ambitious one. You know that we do commit to a new midterm strategy for the period 2022-2027 with very important priorities that are fully aligned with the global agenda and the midterm strategy of UNEP, of course respecting and fulfilling the needs of the region towards a transformational change, to live in harmony in the nature, with the nature, to prevent and to further decrease and prevent pollution, reduce pollution, and to live in harmony with nature and to go for climate stability. We do believe that all together, through a collective effort under your leadership, we'll be in a position to show by the end of this period when the strategy will be evaluated in terms of implementation, will be in a position to show a change for taking Mediterranean one step further towards achievement of the SDGs and for improving the quality of marine and coastal environment. With this one, Mr. President, I would like to thank again all contracting parties for their contribution. It's also an opportunity for me to thank the Presidency of Italy and the Bureau of the Contracting Parties that has been very supportive, guiding, providing leadership during the current biennium, a difficult one, in order to maximize all our efforts for the implementation of the program of work that was adopted in Naples. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm at your disposal for any question or clarification that you may require. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Coordinator, for your very interesting and very fruitful presentation already you have done. And also thank you very much, not only you, but also your team for the efforts for fulfilling all the decisions we have been taken in the last years. And we strongly believe you and your team will have very fruitful things also in the coming millennium. We are the one who will be behind you all the time, and I hope all the parties will help us to fulfill all the decisions we are going to take here. So far, so good. Thank you very much.